see how to manage your Microsoft Office updates using Tanium Deploy in today's patching FAQ. Welcome back to Tanium Tech Talks. I'm your host, Ashley McGlone. And while this is in the series of patching FAQ, we're going to be looking at the deploy module because so often patching is not just the operating system, but all the applications that run on top of it. And what I don't have any stats to back this up, but I'm just guessing probably the most popular application in the world or application suite would be Microsoft Office. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Office is so dominant in every enterprise today. And so, what we want to talk about today in this patching FAQ series is actually going to use the Tanium Deploy module. We're going to talk about how do you update all those different versions of Office in your environment. So, with me back as we continue this patch FAQ series is none other than Jason Wasser. Jason, please introduce yourself for our audience.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jason Wasser. I'm a technical account manager with Tanium. I've been here about 6 years, and my background is in operations. So I've done a lot of patching and software management with other tools, but now helping customers with Tanium.
Well, Jason, just for some trivia here, what was your first version of Office?
And I think I had Office before it was called Office on floppies on Windows 3.1. That was a long
Oh,
time ago.
I
What about
remember
you?
those days. Yeah, I was using in my first real job out of college, all right, dating myself, it was a token ring network with Windows 3.1.1, Office it was Word 2.0,
Mm,
Excel 4.0. I remember when they introduced the right click mouse button in Excel 5.0, which became then Windows 95. It was right click everywhere. So that's really dating myself. Then I used to teach end users training for Office 97, intro, intermediate, advanced, Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Access, did a lot of Access database development back in the late 90s, early 2000s. So yeah, Office goes way back. And before that, I even used like the DOS versions of like Lotus Symphony, and
mm.
WordPerfect and all that stuff. So yeah, Office productivity applications have a long history, and we've come so far since then. There's lots of new features. What's so in the suite, Jason? What's your particularly favorite app?
I'd have to say OneNote. I've been using OneNote for many years and trying to get many other people to use it as well. I just use it to track all the work that I'm doing. When I run into like errors, I screenshot them because OneNote can recognize the text in the error messages. So when I run into a problem, I screenshot it, I document it, and then when I run into it again, because I know I will, I can just search OneNote and I find the error and the solution. It just makes my life a lot easier.
I tell you, I am with you there. OneNote is my killer app today. It's on my phone, my tablet, my uh, personal and work laptops. So like everywhere is OneNote, and I constantly journal all day long, personal things, work things in OneNote, and it's my brain. I'm convinced if somebody wanted to create a AI version of me, all they'd have to
Yeah.
do is take my OneNote and then begin to dialogue with it. Right? That
Yeah.
would be pretty cool. Maybe one of these days. But so next up, then, as we get into this, there's a long history of innovation with Office. It's like, okay, I can type a document in Word, but oh my goodness, the ability nowadays to go into the web portal of O365, and then I don't need file shares anymore. That's relief. And now I can just tell it that I can edit it in the browser, in the local app, and I just love all this new features, things that you never dreamed that how handy it would be. So first off, how many different versions, editions of Office are there these days?
I don't think I can do the math to tell you that answer. I mean, seriously, there are Microsoft, they even the name has changed, right? We used to just call it Office, then it was, Office 365. Now it's Microsoft 365 apps. You have different channels, right? There's current channels, semi-annual channel. There's 32-bit, 64-bit. You can add Visio project. You can have different license SKUs. So and of course, like you mentioned, the web versions, there's so many different versions for mobile, for your phone or your tablet. I mean, I don't someone might know, but I'd have no idea how many combinations of Office there is. That's a great question.
Yeah, and then I heard this click to run, and I've been out of the daily app deployment space for a while. What does click to run mean, and how's that different from other editions?
Office in the old days was packages and MSI, and that's kind of a known quantity for doing software packaging. Many packages come as an MSI. The installation, update, removal process is well known. And then with right around 2016, when Office 365 became more of a subscription, they moved to the click to run model, which is basically based on the app V technology. It's a software type of virtualization for when you install apps. They virtualize the registry and the file system. It's just a different way of servicing the application. And the with Tanium Deploy, just we handle all that for you.
That's a great segue because that was my very next question. Why don't you show us what does this look like in Tanium with all these permutations of different versions and updates? How does Tanium do Office deployments and updates?
Great. Well, what we want to do, I want to start off with saying that everything we're going to cover today is documented at the Tanium Resource Center. So if you go to help.tanium.com, help.tanium.com, and search for deploy Office 365, and then there you'll see an article called Managing Microsoft Office 365 Apps with Tanium. And we're just going to be covering this article here. So you can go and find that and walk through this yourself later. But the main thing we want to talk about is the predefined package gallery in Tanium. We've talked about this before when we were mentioning managing and automating web browser patching. The predefined package gallery has many packages already ready to go for you to import and update, install, remove in your environment. And of course, we have a number of Office packages already here for you. Everything you need is already here. And what that means is I can find the channel that I want or the edition, version, and I can click the import button. And once I import that into my environment, then it's available for installation for new endpoints or updating or patching on existing endpoints. So I can even see here when I search for the word Office that there are many versions, and I can see which ones are eligible for installation, or more
Well, I can
importantly,
even see Mac OS. I just had to call that out. So we
yes,
do Office updates for Mac as well.
that's correct. And
Oh,
I will
nice.
be focusing on Windows today, but the same
Hmm.
type of workflow you can use for the Mac OS endpoints.
The other question I have, as soon as I think, okay, we've got this in the deploy gallery, where do the files come from? When I'm planning this, as far as because usually these are some bigger updates. Is this hosted on my Tanium infrastructure, whether that's cloud or on-prem, or is this like pulling down from a Microsoft distribution in the Microsoft's cloud somewhere?
That's a great question because it's a little bit of both, right? So if your endpoints are in the office, right, and they're able to peer, which means they can use the Tanium architecture to deliver the updates installation files efficiently, then they can use the Tanium architecture to pull that down. If they're working from home, then the endpoints, if they're able to connect to Microsoft CDN directly, then they can pull down those Office updates straight from the internet and use that method. So it's completely intelligent on the back end.
That's good to know because that's a essential part of planning how those you're going to deploy those updates.
One thing I wanted to call out here was that you may have more than one channel or even CPU architecture deployed in your environment. So sometimes it's good to come in here and look to see what all do you have out there, what might need to be updated. Maybe you thought you were only doing current channel, and maybe there's some endpoints out there running different channels. So you can make sure you are patching those, or maybe you need to remove those and install the current channel to standardize. That's an option for you. When you pull it into when you import it into your environment, it shows up in the software packages section. So here I see I have this version of the semi-annual channel. And then now that I have it in here, I can go ahead and deploy this package. And so what we can do is create a deployment. And we've covered deployments before. There's many options in deployments. But in this case, we have some options, right? We can say, I want you to make sure this version of Office is installed if it's not there, or update it if it's out of date. That's usually the best option, especially if you're standardizing Office across your endpoints, or at least some of your endpoints. Or maybe you just say, I just want you to patch this version of Office. So we're going to choose the update, which means if the endpoint has that version of Office and it's out of date, we're going to update it.
Yeah,
Yeah, go
here
ahead.
is I'm thinking I've seen different experiences from the end user side where sometimes there's an Office update app. So is this assuming that in a corporate environment you've kind of maybe you're choosing not to use that kind of built-in app that goes and fetches updates for the local user, and so now you're just going to control all of them from the corporate side?
Yeah, it's well, and actually, depending on how you have it configured, the default configuration of Office is it's just going to update itself. If that's the case, then you don't have a lot of work to do. But we all know that there's stragglers out there. Sometimes some endpoints, for whatever reason, they start to fall behind. And so what we can do is set up some automated patching to ensure that anybody who's not being updated is doing that. And our update process that we're just using the built-in Office mechanisms. So we're delivering the update files. We configure the Office updater to say, here are the update files. It then stages those. And if the apps are in use, so say the user is using Outlook, it will just notify the user through the Outlook app. So the Office apps will actually notify the user saying, hey, you've got some updates to do, and there's a deadline, so they can postpone it and all that. That's using the native Office uh, updater and notifications to let the users know that they need to install or close out their apps to complete installing those updates.
Which brings me to another question. Then, obviously, there's a lot of policy around Office. Is that something that I know that's probably outside the scope of today's call, but are we looking at like enforce or something else that we would do to manage Office policies
Yeah, for sure.
configuration?
So you definitely want to use Enforce for configuring like policies or group policies for your Microsoft Office deployments. When talking about updating, we really want to get to the point of automation wherever we can. We've talked about that many times, and I'm using the same approach that we talked about in the web browser patching video. What we're creating is a workflow with deploy to say automatically import the latest versions of Office of the channels that I choose. In this case, I'm choosing the current channel, the semi-annual channel, both x86 and x64. And I want you to always deploy the latest applicable. And so what that allows us to do then is have a deployment always going to our endpoints that says whenever new versions of Office come out, and if they haven't already auto-updated themselves, let Tanium go ahead and take care of making sure they get up to date. So that's
All right,
that.
so I just want to make sure I'm following here. We just jumped tracks for a second. So first we're talking about installs and
Right?
updates, but this is a separate bundle that's not going to deploy anything. It's just if it finds it, whatever addition you've got there, all in that bundle, you can put all the additions in the bundle, but it's only going to do update actions. That's pretty cool.
Right. What we're trying to do, right? We want to standardize, your Office installations. We want to make sure they're patching, and so you can use bundles and auto import and ongoing deployments, these components of Tanium Deploy, to ensure that all new workstations or existing workstations have the correct version of Office, and your existing workstations are always being patched to the latest version. One of the things we want to talk about too is in some scenarios, because those Office installation files can be rather large, and you want to pre-cache those installation files ahead of time. And that way the installation update process will go quicker because the files are already on disk. So we have these pre-cache package files in the gallery, which basically instructs the endpoint to go download all the necessary installation or update files, stage them on the endpoint, so that when you perform those installations or those updates, the patching, it goes really quickly because everything's already there. So if you're maybe scheduling an upgrade for next week or a couple weeks out, you can go ahead and pre-cache, get those files there ahead of time. Just let that happen in the background. One thing we've been talking about, like standard default Office configurations. Sometimes we have customized Office installations. One size does not always fit all for Office. Sometimes there's additional apps you have to install, or language packs, or licensing changes. The gallery packages that we've been covering have built-in accommodations for that. And the process for that is to generate your own Office customization file. That can be done by going to config.office.com. That's where I am right now. And this is where I can choose the different versions of Office, the different licensing. Maybe I want to throw in Visio or project. Maybe I want to select a specific channel or specific version, or additional language packs. Maybe I want to have English and Spanish included for my workstations. Once I go through and build the configuration that I want, I can press export here, and then you can say it will save the file as a configuration XML. And what you do with that process to customize your Office deployments is you go to an existing Office package, right? So in this case, this is the current channel. You make a copy of it, and then we're going to add that customization file generated. And here I have a configuration.xml available. So I attach this to the existing package or a copy of the package, and I save this. And then when I deploy this package, all those customizations are automatically included. So we'll install Visio or Project or the Spanish language pack, whatever it is that you need to customize that. So that's already built in. You just have to add that customization file to the package.
That's really nice. Which leads me to my next question. So I'm looking at these versions here, like 16.0 blah 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 blah. Like these are very specific release versions. When we were doing browser updates, we could just tell it to install latest, but this looks like it's for specific versions. So do I have to kind of redo this process every time I want to do an update for Office, or will it do that latest version, kind of like you were talking earlier?
Right. And so for the customization is for an install. So that's actually good that you called that out. When we perform an update, we update whatever components are already there. So if the Spanish language pack is there or Visio is there, we'll make sure we update anything that's already installed. The customization is if for you want to install additional components, such as adding Visio, or is this an install scenario rather than an update scenario? And the update scenario will always be the whatever latest version is, and any components that are already installed will be updated.
Very nice. Yeah, because I was starting to get worried for a second. Okay, if I've got to build this package and this customization for every release, I need to get other things done with my life.
Exactly. Yeah, we've done what we can to take a lot of the work and the thinking out of managing Office, but there's definitely some work still involved for sure.
Yeah. But the good news is that once you hit latest version on the update, you should be okay, and don't have to repeat this process every time there's a release. So that's good.
Exactly. We often talk about showing our work when we talk about these automations or these workflows we're working on. How do we know that we're being effective in what we're doing? And of course, our managers always like pretty charts. So you can build a dashboard like this. I built this one out to help track the Office deployments in my environment. I just want to know, like, what are all the versions that I have out there in my environment? Which channels and the distribution of different channels, the platform architecture, and then I break it down by each channel so I know for each of the channels that I have out there which versions are present in my environment. This can help me know if I've got some too many versions. So if see here I have the current channel, I have several different versions, which means I may need to check on why they're not updating, or I need to fix some of these, make sure they get updated. If it's empty, that means I don't have any of that channel. That might be a good thing, because you don't need that many channels, because you don't need that many to manage. But of course, if you need those, you can certainly do that. And you can customize this to your own liking as well.
Boy, those
So that's it.
dashboards, that's great. I mean, like we've talked about on the show so many times, team does a really good job at deploying and updating stuff and then giving you the reporting on it. And yeah, for any project, you got to know, are we done yet? Right.
Right.
And so here you go. Nice.
Yeah. So with Tanium Deploy, right, you can get up and running pretty quickly with installing Office, customizing it, and even setting up automatic patching using Tanium Deploy. You can customize it like we talked about, and you can make your own dashboards to track your deployment. So I hope that you all can use this article and this video to help get you up and running and free you up to do other things, because we all have many things to do on our IT to-do list. So happy patching, everyone.
Thanks again, Jason, for this latest installment on the Tanium patching FAQs with probably, again, we're hitting frequently asked questions. I can't imagine anything being asked more frequently than how do I keep Office update? How do I keep up to date with all that? And again, you're doing this with one agent on the Tanium infrastructure that could be cloud hosted with no distribution servers you have to maintain in your environment. And again, it's just so lightweight and so fast, and you've got instant feedback on where you stand. So that's what a lot of our customers tell us they like about the Tanium platform. So be sure in the description below, in the show notes, check out that community article link over at help.tanium.com. And also, I'll just throw in a quick commercial for Tanium certification. There it is. Yep, Tanium certified. Go out there and get Tanium certified. If you're not certified today, there's the Tanium Certified Operator, Tanium Certified Administrator, and some new certifications that we just announced at Converge, new exams that are available in this playlist here on YouTube. Go check out the certification topics with some interviews with Stephanie Coburn, who's our VP of Certification and Training. We'll give you the updates there, as well as we're hoping this year to plan a video series on covering each one of the certifications. So stay tuned for that. I just now said it. That means I got to do it. So we're hoping to get out some videos this year as well on certification. So keep your eyes on the playlist for more certification content as well as more Tanium FAQs. So until next time, go Tanium.